Oh, all right. All right. Ironman Florida race. Oh no, Ironman Jacksonville. Technically, I'm sort of Ironman Florida. Ironman Jacksonville race recap. In short, wasn't what we wanted, but it's what we got. So that's what it is. So total time 10 hours, 56 minutes, 23 seconds. 24th out of 117 in my age group, 25 to 29. 161st place out of 1262, so 161st overall. Yeah. So I'll say the swim time, or I'll say all the times. So my swim time was 105.47. Bike was 5:28.46. My marathon was 4:09.42. So let's get into it. So obviously, like I said, in short, no good. We went slower. So we were trying to beat 10:30. In like my goal time, what I was shooting for was a very like a high 9, somewhere in the 940s or the 950s. I think I should have been more than capable of doing that. But so I'll start from the start. So the swim in general, I think, went pretty well. 105 is really good, but it was like downstream. I do think that when we first hopped in the water, especially like the very first people, I think the tide was still kind of coming against us. Because I heard some people talking about like they had to swim against the tide. So some people were throwing that around. So there's that. But in general, when I first hopped in, I kind of panicked a little bit for the first like couple minutes. Because I was like, so one, I've never swam in water that murky. So I kind of panicked a little bit there. And then two, I was like, it's no wetsuit. So in general, like the wetsuit's kind of like a floaty. It's like the safety in my head a little bit. So I kind of tweaked. I was like, oh shit, if I stop swimming, I'm just going to drown. Like if I don't swim, I die. And that was kind of what I was thinking in that moment. So I was like, oh shit. And then my left goggle got all filled up. So I couldn't, like you could see, but it's all like, there's water in there, so you can't really see. So I just kind of tweaked out. It took me a couple minutes to like relax. And then I completely forgot to start my watch. I got it like on the, I feel like I'm not talking straight right now, but I got it on the swim start page. So like all I had to do was just press start and it would have been going. And I completely forgot. Like once I got up to the line and they're like, all right, you can go. I was like, whoo! And it just went. I didn't even think about this. So that was a little disappointing because I wish I would have known my swim time getting done. But whatever. So we went through the swim. There's 2 times in the swim that I thought I was going to throw up. Obviously it's salt water. And during Panama City, Florida, that didn't bother me at all, actually, which I was very surprised about. But this time it kind of did. And I don't think I swallowed water. In my head, I always kind of make fun of people that are like, oh, I swallowed water. I'm like, what do you mean you swallowed water? You just don't swallow the water. I still don't necessarily think I swallowed water. Maybe I did a little bit. Obviously, like if you get it in your mouth, you're going to be swallowing like spit, stuff like that. So sure. But I was getting stomach, or not even really stomach things. I was still going to throw up twice during the swim. So there was that. And it just felt really long. I kind of did myself a disservice because I thought there were 3 bridges, but one of the bridges we went under was a railroad track. And I guess I thought that was the last bridge. So in my head, I was like, oh, the swim, we're about to be done. And then I kept trying to look up, like when you're swimming, you do the quick, like sighting. So you swim, you pop your head up and you try to see. But that's only for like a second or so when your head's up and then you're back down to swim. And I could never see the actual finish. So I was like, oh shit, I think we're further. And every time I think I saw it, I'm like, that's not it. So it's further. So I just did myself a disservice there. So like mentally it felt a lot longer than it probably should have because I kept thinking I was almost done. But then getting out of the water, it's like this little ramp you come up. Your heart rate just goes freaking sky high. I was like, whoa. And then like finding the ramp, I was like, oh my God. Just like you're all discombobulated, and then running up to transition. I had a caffeinated gel in my aero suit, so I kept it right in my thigh. So as I was jogging up, I grabbed that, I took that, so that way I didn't have to take it in transition, so I saved time. Because if I have to run over there anyways, might as well be taking the gel. Might as well be getting some carbs in. So we did that, and it worked out well, so I'm glad I did that. But I was just trying to get my heart rate down. In that little jog, I was like, holy crap. I was like, and I didn't feel like that the first Ironman. But I do think I pushed harder in this swim than I did in the first one as well. But yeah, so then I got to my bike. It took me a minute to find my bike bag, because like I remember setting it down, like there's 3 or 4 little like lines of bags, and I set mine down on the outside of where all our bags are. So like I was 10-15, so you're by 10-16, 10-14. It goes in a numerical order. So I remember setting my bag down on the outside, the left-hand side outside, sorta, middle outside. And then when I was looking for my bag, I was like, I couldn't find it. And I was looking all over, I couldn't find it. And then one of the helpers, or one of the volunteers, he was trying to help me find it too. It felt a lot longer. Probably in total was like a little over a minute. But a minute, 60 seconds, when it feels like you're in the heat of it, it felt like forever. I was like, where's my fucking bag? I didn't say that, but I was like, oh, I can't find my bag. I don't know where it is. And then I was like, someone must have grabbed it. I was like, did someone grab my bag? And then that would have been a big wrench in things. But we ended up finding it. I think the volunteer found it. I don't even think I found it. I don't remember. But either he was like, here it is, or I was like, found it. I really don't remember. But got the bag, got my shoes on, got my helmet on, and we were on the way. I also put socks on. And then we were on my way. And then a funny story, when I grabbed my bike, you're running with your bike, and then you're in this grass area. So it's the morning time still. So the grass is all condensation-y and wet, or the morning dew. So as I'm running along, I think I was holding both the handlebars and the seat. So then as I was running, the bike kind of gets further away from you, and it slipped in the grass. I was like, oh shit. So I was literally running, like the bike slipped, and I was like that SpongeBob meme. I don't know if you know that SpongeBob meme. He's like, oh, like that's what I felt like. I was like, oh shit, my bike, gonna need that. And then I turn around, all the bottles fell out, except for one. So I was like, ah, balls. But it takes, just boop, 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 boop. So it didn't take very long, and honestly it was funny. I wonder if someone got a video of that, because I was just like, it felt funny, so hopefully someone laughed. But got all the bottles on there, and more to come on the bottles in a second, because that was a really crucial moment, actually. But, so yeah, so then I hop on my bike, we get pedaling. Did not feel good to start. That first hour and a half of the bike, I remember looking at my computer, it said 1 hour and 44 minutes. That was when I was like, I'm starting to feel better now. But I was having stomach issues. I don't know if it was just being an aero. Obviously in aero, you're like pinching your stomach, so obviously it doesn't particularly help. It's not like a natural position to be in. But my stomach was just not having it. And I wasn't like terrible. I wasn't like, oh my god, my stomach. But it wasn't good. Like I felt like I was going to kind of throw up. I was trying to get carbs down a little bit, but I just didn't want. My body was not really having it. It was like, I don't want it. I don't want that. So I didn't try to force carbs down. Honestly, for the first hour, I don't think I really drank anything from my bottles, other than like 1 or 2 little sips, because it was like I might throw up. I might not, don't really feel that good. And I was like, I'm just gonna kinda, because I knew I had just taken the 25 gram of carb gel. So I was like, at least I sort of have that. But, I don't know, I just didn't feel good for like that first hour and 44 minutes. And then that's when I hit a high. But before that, so when I was riding, when I first got on the bike, so I had a bottle in my aero bars, I had a bottle on the frame, and I had 2 back here. So when the bottles fell when I was in transition running out, I put all the bottles in really quick. So the plan was to have 200 grams of carbs here, 200 grams of carbs here, the 150 grams of carbs bottle, and then the bottle of just water. So I had 3 30-ounce bottles and then 1 maybe 20-ounce bottle. Ended up switching that the morning of, actually. But so then I put all the bottles back into where I thought they should be. But basically what I did is I put the water bottle, the only water bottle here, where the 200 grams of carbs should have been. And then so I had 200 here, water here. But why that was so crucial was when I was riding, less than an hour into the bike, this bottle fell out as I was riding. So I was like, that was a big low. For like 30 seconds, that was a major low. I was like, wow, there goes my fucking race. Obviously there's nutrition on the course, so I would have been able to work with it. It wouldn't have been the end of the world, but in that moment I was like, holy fuck, that's insane. That's 200 grams of carbs I just lost. So then I was like, well, fuck. I had gels in my pockets, like extra gels. I think I had like 5 extra ones in my side pocket. So I was like, all right, I can take those. And then I forgot about the bottles of carbs on course, but obviously I would have took those too. So again, I wouldn't have been the end of the world, but in the moment, for like 30 seconds, I was like, that is fucking insane. But I was like, well, I want water. I really want water, so let me just drink some water. So I grabbed the bottle back here that I thought was water. So then when I go to drink it, it was carbs. I was like, the first thing I drank it and I was like, Jesus, I was like, God is real. That is the first thing that came out of my mind. I was so blown away. I was so blown away in that moment. I was like, holy fuck. I was like, that's insane. So that was awesome. That was a really high point. I was like, this is fucking great. I was like, that's so cool. Because I knew that the aid stations had water, so I was like, oh, I'll just grab water bottles. And the whole point with that bottle that just had water was to ditch it anyway. So once I finished it, I was going to toss it. So the fact I lost it, not a big deal. Would I have liked to drink the water? Yeah, but it didn't matter. And they had aid stations much more frequently than they did in Panama City. I don't remember in Panama City, but I feel like there was like 2 of them. Or like 3. Like, I really don't remember there being a lot at all. This one, there were many more. Or at least they were just much more frequent, because you did 2 loops out there and then you came back the same way you went out. Opposite sides of the highway, so they would, like, even if there's an aid station on your way out, you wouldn't hit it on the way back because it's a different side of the highway. But either way, just many more aid stations this time, which was really nice on the bike because every time I come up, I was slugging water. And then towards the end, I was grabbing one to chug right away, and then I'd grab one and put it in the thing. So I'd chug this one, and then I'd keep onto that one, I'd sip it, and the next aid station, whatever, do the same thing. But yeah, when I noticed that bottle was the carbs and I didn't lose those, I was like absolutely blown away. I was like, God is real. That was the first thing that came out of my mind, or out of my head. I was like, this is awesome. But back to the actual bike, very up and down. Like I said, hour 44 minutes was when I was like, oh, I'm starting to feel good. And there was a section, the first section when I was like, oh, I'm feeling good. I was pushing 23, 24 miles an hour, and I was like, I feel strong. Like, this feels good. And it felt that way, and then it didn't. And then I'd be like, oh, my stomach kind of hurts again. And like, I would kind of sit up a little bit, like out of aero, because that would kind of help my stomach a little bit. But then having the power meter, you notice, you'll be going down a straight road, and if you're in aero, it's much more efficient, and then when you sit up, you'll watch the power go up and your speed go lower. Or the power stay the same and your speed go lower just because you're up and you have all the, you're just acting as like a big, you're just, what the hell is, you're just being draggy or whatever. Kind of, it's the end of the night. I'm about to go to bed after this, but, so I'm a little bit, I feel like my brain's not all there right now. But having the power meter, you see that. And then speaking of the power meter, mine wasn't reading correctly because my batteries were low. So then I was on the phone with my coach, Parker, shout out to Parker, after the fact, and then we were looking at the data from the power meter, and then my right pedal was reading very wrong. Because my overall power on the bike, it says it was 140 watts, which sounds incredibly low. Not that 528 is like a super fast bike split, but it should be a higher power than that. So then when I was riding, I kind of had a sneaking suspicion that it was off, because there were times when I was pushing like 180, 190 watts. I was like, this feels a lot harder than 180, 190 watts. But I was also like, I don't really feel the best, so maybe that's why. So I didn't have confidence within my power meter, and I didn't have confidence within myself because I didn't feel good. So then the whole time I was like, I don't really know how hard I can push. So I ended up just looking more so at the miles per hour than I did anything else. I was looking at cadence too, but I was really just paying attention to the miles per hour and trying to keep it above, like keep it 20 or above. I don't know what my average speed was. I think it was like 20 something miles an hour, which is, I'm just not happy with, I'm not happy with it at all. Which is really disappointing. But yeah, I had no major issues on the bike other than just very up and down. Like I'd feel good and then I wouldn't. And then I feel like I had like 2 or 3, I think maybe 3-ish sections where I was like, oh, I'm feeling good. And then the rest was just like meh. I think I felt the worst at the start, and then it wasn't as bad throughout, but pretty much the whole bike was just, I felt good or I didn't. So that wasn't really exciting because compared to the last time, I mean, I didn't really have any like major ups and downs during the bike. The whole time I was just like, I feel neutral. So I guess I didn't really have any highs or lows. I was just here in Panama City. In Jacksonville, I was either here or I was here. So I don't know. Yeah, so then, but I did like the bike course. I don't really feel like the headwind, in my head I kept thinking the headwinds were going to be really strong, and they weren't. And in fact, I feel like we had a good tailwind a lot of times, especially on the way back. There's this super long stretch of highway. I feel like it was around mile 80 something to like 90 something. It just feels like you're flying. I remember hitting it felt like pretty consistent 23, 24 miles an hour the whole time. That was one of the sections where I was like, I'm feeling good. But maybe just because I had the wind at my back. But, I don't know. But I think, yeah, whatever. So that was basically the bike. If anything I said even just made sense. So then, come to the end, you ride through town, you go up a bridge, you go down it, and then you think like, okay, that's the last hill. And then every intersection there's cops, and then they're like that way, and then you're like another fucking hill. You go up another like highway on ramp up a hill, and you're like, god damn. But you do that, but you know, at that point you're like, you know you're done. You have less than a minute left, a couple minutes left. You're like, it doesn't matter. Because now you're hyped up, you're ready for the run. And then, so you do that, hop off the bike, headed into the transition, grabbed my runners, and then tossed my shoes on. I didn't pee on the bike this time. For me, I'm one of the types of people that to pee, I need to be still. I can't like rock around in the ocean and piss. I can't swim and piss. Can't ride my bike and piss. If I do, like when Panama City, when I peed on my bike, I had to stop pedaling and just literally coast like this. And I waited till I was going down a hill that time, but this time I didn't really have to pee. I could kind of feel it, but I was like, I don't have to go bad enough to where I'm going to be able to go, essentially, because I was like, I need to be still. So when I got into transition, I was like, I kind of have to pee. So I was like, let me just try to pee now. So I was sitting in one of the chairs, putting my shoes on, and I just pissed myself. So that was cool. And also, one of the other cool things, getting into transition after the swim and then after the bike, is coming into transition after the swim. You get in there and majority of the bikes are still in there. Like pretty much all the bikes are still in there. So that's exciting because you're like, oh, I'm ahead of all these people. And I didn't really know that going into Panama City. Like that's not something I would have paid attention to. But this time I was like, oh, all these people are still behind me, which was kind of cool. And then same thing with coming into transition after the bike. You're not really going through there because they put your bike away, which is cool. But you can still see, and you're like, oh, this bad boy's like empty. So that's also cool. It's motivating to see that. But yeah, so I pissed my pants in the chair putting my shoes on. Oh, another thing on the bike is I was cramping like crazy. So within the first hour on the bike, I was cramping. My hand was cramping, and then my quads. Well, I noticed my hands cramping first within the first hour. I was like, how am I cramping already? And yeah, and then it just kind of got progressively worse. And I didn't know if that was from the carb load. I was like, maybe it's just so many carbs, not enough water. But because I saw Matthew Marquardt, he's another pro. He's a pro, and then he's also like a doctor, or he's in medical school or something, which is cool, badass. But he was talking about how he would carb load and then he would cramp like crazy. And then I was kind of thinking about that. I was like, maybe it's something to do with that, but also just sodium. I didn't have enough sodium because I brought salt pills and I was taking those throughout the bike, and then it would kind of go away, but it would just come back. So long story short, I didn't bring enough sodium on the bike because I kind of got scared because I had an indoor ride where I took too much sodium and it totally messed up my stomach. So then I kind of got scared to do that. So I didn't bring enough sodium in general. But yeah, so I was cramping on the bike and then whatever. So then coming into transition, did everything I just said, and then start running. Not really feeling the best, to be honest. Like leg-wise, they didn't feel that springy. They didn't feel like they had a lot in them, to be honest. Especially compared to Panama. Again, like when I got off the bike going into the marathon into Panama City, I felt fucking fresh. I remember thinking like, oh man, like I'm about to kill this bitch. And looking at it now, I did, because I just ran a 4:09 marathon, but I ran a 3:33, which I was like, that's fucking good for an Ironman for your first one. So I was really happy with that, but going into this one, man, I was like, man, this is going to be a rough one. In my head, I was like, I can grind it out, and I mean, I did grind it out, just not up to the standard I had in my head. But yeah, they didn't feel very good. So then you're running, and then I kind of knew, well, I was disappointed because I saw my bike split time and it was 5:28, or my computer might have said like 5:26. But I was like, well, that's disappointing because I thought I was going to go closer to 5 hours. Like I thought I'd be somewhere between like 5 hours and 5 hours and 10 minutes. That's kind of what I was hoping for. And maybe that's what I'd have done had I felt solid the whole time or something. But because at the very beginning of the bike, I was scared to push because I was like, I don't feel good. So I was like, I just didn't know. I didn't really know what to do. But yeah. So I was disappointed by that mentally. And then you're starting to run. I didn't really feel, I was like, my legs do not have a lot in them. Especially, and I just kept thinking about Panama. I was like, I know how hard that marathon felt, and I ran a 3:33, and I was like, I felt fresh. Genuinely felt like damn near fresh coming off the bike. And again, that marathon felt so hard, I ran 3:33. I was like, I feel much less than that, and I'm trying to run much faster than that. So I was like, this is going to be interesting. And then I'm like, pair that with what I thought was a shitty bike time, and I still don't think it's a good bike time, and then not knowing what my swim time was, and in my head just thinking, you probably swam like shit too. So there's some internals of how I think about myself. I think, total side quest, but I think one of my biggest downsides is just my self-worth. I think that's probably the thing I struggle with the most, is just thinking you're not a piece of shit. But anyways, I was really digging into myself during that. So I was like, this sucks. I was like, you suck, this sucks. You probably swam like shit. You didn't bike any better. And I was like, you don't even feel good going into the run. So yeah. And then less than a mile, or maybe it was just over a mile into the run, you run past the finish line. And I saw the total time was 7 hours and 6 minutes. And at first, I did the math wrong in my head, and I was like, oh shit, if I run a 3:33 or a 3:30 marathon, I'll finish in 9 hours and 30 minutes. And then for a second there, I was kind of fired up. And then maybe 30 seconds later, I was like, hey, you did the math wrong, asshole. You're not about to run a 2:30 marathon. Because 7 hours to 8 hours to 9 hours to 10 hours. So even if I matched my marathon time, I would have done damn near exactly the same time, 10:30, maybe a minute or two faster. So then I was like, once I realized that, I was like, fuck. And then I was just like, fuck. And that was at mile 1 of the marathon. So you're like, I gotta go run 25 more miles now. All while knowing I'm literally not even gonna do better than what I fucking did. And then, yeah. So long story short, my biggest downfall of this race was I really mentally gave up on myself, and I mentally was not my friend. Um, Obviously, there are the physical things of like not feeling the best on the bike, and just the nausea in the swim, and then again on the bike with the stomach stuff, and then the cramping. But I don't really give it up to cramping. Like, I would have pushed, I did push through that. Because even going into the run, my worst cramp on the run was mile 1, my hamstring locked up. And then after that, like I had to walk for a second, it went away. And then after that, I never had like a crazy cramp. There kept being like the little like, ooh, type things where it's like you could feel a cramp coming and then it would go away. But nothing super crazy, because I was also running slow as shit. But yeah, so mentally I really gave up on myself, and then just kept going. I was really disappointed. I was like, that was the closest I'd ever been to like thinking I was gonna quit the race or DNF the race. Because then I kept thinking in my head, I was like, well, the pros do it. They DNF. Like, why can't I? And then I was like, I'm not gonna do any better. Just quit. And then it's like, you justify in your head. You're like, well, you can just kind of save yourself, not kind of dig yourself into too much of a hole, and then you don't have to take as much time off training or something, or whatever. And then I was just, I don't know, I just really thought, like, I was on lap 1, I was like, I might just stop after this lap. And then, you really justify it in your head. I was like, I feel like shit. It was 3 laps, I felt the worst on lap 1. Lap 2 was the best, lap 3 was like the medium. But I felt the worst on that one, and then I was just like, I'm gonna quit. I really thought I was. But I also couldn't really believe that I was at the same time. But I really did think I was gonna quit, or DNF or whatever. But then, and then you just keep thinking about it. And then I was running with another dude. There's probably more people within the Ironman race that have a bad race than have a good one, just because of how fucking demanding of the race is. Like coming, you can feel strong in the swim, feel strong on the bike, and then coming into that run, that's kind of the make or break, where it's like you're either going to have a strong run, or you're not going to blow up till the very end and you can kind of push through, or you just are shit right away, and then that's kind of when your race falls apart. There's a lot of people in the same boat. But then you just think, like, it's cliche to say, but how are you going to act when things aren't going your way? Like, how do you respond to failure? How are you going to respond to when, again, things did not go your way? You're just going to be a bitch, cry, crawl in the corner, whatever? Or you're just going to deal with it? And on the back of my tri-suit, I wrote one of the daily doodles that I felt fitting for the race, but it was just surrender to the experience. Which it was really cool to have a lot of people run past me or see me after the race and be like, oh, I really liked that. Or they'll be like, people just said that, a lot of people were like, I love that, that's awesome, whatever. So that was really cool, and that was the point. I wanted something that would be like, kind of motivational, but kind of make you think a little bit, like say you're in a down moment. And that's exactly, where I was. I was in a shitty moment, and then it's just like surrender to the experience. Just let it happen, not in the way of like, intentionally giving up or intentionally letting things go bad, but just surrender to what's happening. Like at that point, I couldn't take back my bike split. I couldn't take back me not feeling the best, whatever. It was just what it is. That's part of the experience. So surrender to it and just accept it, and deal with it as it comes. So I kind of was able to talk myself back into not quitting the race, which was good, because then I think about the social media stuff. I'm like, again, it's like, who are you really the person you say you are? Because if you quit, you're kind of not. And I think I'd quit, and probably like 30 seconds later, I'd be like, oh shit, what did I just do? So I'm glad I didn't, but I thought I was. But those are good moments, because they make you stronger. And then you just meet, especially during this one, you're definitely in the pain cave, but I met so many people that like recognized me on the run, so I got to talk to them, which was awesome. I was talking to one guy, Steven, started crying, because it's just so cool to hear people say, I'm excited to see what you do. Like, you're gonna, whatever. It's just cool to hear people say they'll following the journey, and I'm like, why does anyone give a fuck about me? Like, why would anybody care about me? So I had a little moment there because I started crying, but it was cool. And all the people I got to meet during the run, around the race, before, during, after, was awesome. It was so cool. And then, yeah, so you run through. The run was hard, even if the race went well, the run is always going to be hard, especially towards the end. It's always going to be hard, but I feel like I did a good job of. I walked the aid stations, and then I walked when I cramped, and I walked up one hill one time. But other than that, I just slowly chugged along, doing like 9-10 minute miles. But I wasn't going to let myself just walk. Because honestly, it gets to a point where even though the steps kind of hurt, it's almost like numbing in a way. I don't know, it's weird, but you just get into this little weird rhythm of just like step, 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 step. And you just don't stop. Because to be honest, like when you start walking, it really doesn't feel that much better either. And my pace, these 9-10 minute miles, is not far off from just like speed walking anyway, so it's like, what's the difference? But I just wouldn't let myself walk. I don't like the idea of that, other than the aid stations in that one hill. But other than that, I ran up all the hills. I jogged the best that I could, shit like that. So I'm happy about that. Happy I didn't quit. I'm happy I got to meet all those people on the run. And then come around to the finish line, and then you finish. Honestly, it was a much different experience coming to the finish line than it was last time. Last time it was like, it's your first time. Your first for anything is always different than the multiple times you do the same thing again. So it was like the culmination of all this training and this thing, this Ironman race thing that's been so far away from you, that you've put on this pedestal in your head that you're like, I just completed it. And on social media, you always see the people crossing the finish line. You're like, I'm doing that. You're like, I'm the one crossing the finish line. You're like, holy crap. It's a surreal moment. But then coming across the finish line this time, it was very like, I almost didn't feel like I deserved it. I was like, I don't even deserve not praise, like it was not like I was getting praise, but you get all the cheers. I was like, I don't even really feel like I deserve it, because I was like, I'm in my head like, I'm a failure. I failed. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And the other thing is, like, this is the third race now that I fucked up. So I had the marathon before my first Ironman, I fucked up. The Ironman went well, and then I just did the marathon a couple months ago now. Fucked that up, and then I did this race, fucked that up too. So that's three fucking races that I fucked up. So now in my head, going up to that finish line, I'm like, all right, I don't even deserve this. 2, I fucked it up, and 3, I fucked it up. So I was like, I was just happy to be done. And it's like hard to really be mad at yourself when you're like, I did just do all of this stuff. But that's not really like why. One of the things I kept thinking about a lot is like, I want to race the race. I heard that from Lionel Sanders, because he talks about like durability. He's like, I want to race the race. But that's what I was thinking about. I was like, I want to race the race. I'm not just going out there to do those massive distances just to fucking do it. I want to do it to do the best I can do at it, and to like really to race them. And to go out there not really be able to race it and just be very slow and just not what I wanted it to be was really disappointing. You can't always get what you want, but it was really disappointing. So like coming across the finish line, I was like, like again, I was like happy, but I was also just happy it was over. Because I was like, yeah, I'm just glad this is done. Yeah, it was very disappointing. But it was also really cool when I posted the video on social media, that reel of Henry. The guy's name is Henry, but he filmed me coming into the finish line, like just before the actual shoot, because he didn't know if I had anyone there. I had my twin sister there, my friend Vaughn. Shout out to them, because it was really great to have them. It was awesome. Haven't seen them in a while. But it was just great to have company around. So that was just nice. But he didn't know if I had anyone there, so he wanted to take that video for me. And then he was cheering me on, and then, again, it's like, to carry on to that undeservingness thing, I was like, I don't even deserve this. I was like, I'm a failure. I failed. So I'm like, this guy's cheering me on. It's like, I let him down. In my head, I'm like, I let him down, and I failed. All the people that follow me, I'm like, I let them down. Same thing with the marathons. I'm like, I'm letting everyone down. And letting myself down, and then I'm like, I'm looking like a fool. It's embarrassing, because I'm like, I'm trying to do these times, or I'm trying to set out for these times, and I never said before that marathon I wanted to go around like a low 250, because I didn't want the pressure, but I still built the pressure in my head, and I never like straight up said, oh, I'm trying to go like a high 9. I said it if people asked me, and then a couple comments on Instagram, people are like, sub 10, and I was like, haha. But I never blatantly was like, I'm going for this, because I don't want the pressure, because I don't know if I can take the pressure. Maybe I can, maybe I can't, I don't really know, but I've had 3 races now I fucked up, so I don't really know what's going on. I'm trying to figure that out. But yeah, I just felt like a failure, and it's embarrassing. Again, I'm like, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm the social media guy, and I can't even put a goddamn race together. It's so obnoxious. So yeah, because it's like, I'm posting all this stuff, I'm acting like I'm good or something, and I'm not. I don't have anything to back it up, and it's so obnoxious. But then I'll be like, hey, this is what you asked for, pal. You wanted to motivate people, you want to chase something meaningful. The thing that, if anything, the thing that makes these things meaningful is how I respond and how I react to it, for how people can perceive it, like how people see me react and respond, and how I move forward from these things. Because at the end of the day, no one gives a shit if I run a 2-hour marathon or a 4-hour marathon. I think that's awesome. If I ran a 2-hour marathon, whatever, that's amazing. But no one cares. Like, there's not meaning for other people in that. If I ran a 3-hour marathon, there's no meaning in that for other people. The true meaning in my head is like, how do I respond to that? How did I get to that point? Say I ran a 2-hour marathon. How did I respond and act and get to that point? What was my work ethic like? What kind of person was I to get to that point? And after, and like, how do people see that and perceive that? That's where like there's the value of trying to be a good person and working towards these goals, and what can people take from it that's, again, of value to them. Because me running any time of a marathon or any time for an Ironman doesn't really mean shit to anybody other than me. But it's how do I act, how do I present myself, how to genuinely, essentially, just be genuine and authentic. But in these moments when you're failing 3 times, it's like, how do I act to these? How do I respond to these? You want to keep going. You want to be persistent in the right way. You want to be, just don't give up. Work towards your goals. You can't just quit when it gets hard, because it's never going to be easy. Anyone that's successful in anything will just tell you, oh, when things got hard and I got knocked down, I just got back up and kept going. So I've leaned really hard into that. And you can think about it as 2 frames. The hard things that you're doing that are knocking you down are the filter to get rid of all the other people, the weak people. I'm sure that'll offend somebody. And then another frame is the hard that is right now is the price you have to pay to get to where you want to be. I think about that one a lot. I don't really care for the other filter one, because again, it is kind of like, oh, I'm better than these people. I don't really like that. But I just like that one. That one I heard from Alex Ramosi. It's the hard that is right now is the price you have to pay for where you want to be. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because to get this phone I had to pay freaking $1,000. I think it is something like that. But that's the price I had to pay to get to this phone. To try to get a 9-hour some marathon or Ironman, you have to put in all that time with training. That's the price to get to that time. To run I haven't even run a sub 3-hour marathon yet, but to do that, you have to put in all this time in training to get to there. And then to get to there just doesn't mean you'll even get the thing. Because I would argue those last 2 marathons I could have went under 3 hours, and I didn't either one because they both got fucked up. So just because that's another thing, is like just because you worked for something doesn't mean you deserve it, doesn't mean you're gonna get it. And I think I'm proof of that because the last 3 races have gone south. Just because I worked towards something and kind of let it be all consuming doesn't mean I'm gonna get it. And maybe that's a sign that I shouldn't be so all consuming with things. I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. It's hard to find a sense of grounding sometimes because you're like, everything could be anything. So you're like, what is up and down? What's side to side? Like, what is right? What is wrong? That's what sometimes makes things hard. But I'm kind of off track here. I really don't know what got me to this point. But yeah, so finished the race, and then again, I was just happy to be done. I was disappointed. I wasn't as like dog with its tail between its legs after this Ironman as I was after the last 2 marathons. I don't really know why, but I wasn't, which I guess is good. I was less shameful, but yeah, just happy to be done. And again, it was just really cool to meet all the people out there. And one of the guys I was talking to, he was in the same situation I was. He just had a bad race, and we were kind of running together for a little bit. And this is the thing I said to him. I was like, realistically, like the only one that cares about the time is us. Like, I only care about my time. You're the one that really only cares about your time. But all your family members, all your friends, they're gonna be like, you did that? Holy crap. And that's people on social media. For the most part, obviously there's other like athletic type people that will understand what I mean when you say like, oh, I failed. Not that that makes it right, but they'll understand that at least. But a lot of people will just see that and be like, you did an Ironman, holy crap. And so that's kind of the frame of mind I had during the marathon, at least at points or whatever. It was just like, the only person that truly cares about the time is me. Everyone else just cares that I did it. And yeah, and it just makes you feel a little bit better because you're like, yeah, it is what it is. And he was like, yeah, it's true. But yeah, it's just what it is. But all we're gonna do is just keep on going and keep on fighting and keep on rolling. Another funny story was on the bike. Someone came up behind me and was like, Liam! Scared the shit out of me. Like, genuinely scared the shit out of me. I was like, holy shit! I don't remember. That whole race feels like a blur. I really felt like I was so locked in. During the swim, it was just, the beginning was just, don't drown, survive. Survive. And then I was like, when is this thing gonna be over? But, and then on the bike, it just felt like tunnel vision the whole time on the bike. There was one point when I looked to the side, because someone mentioned the day before the race, like part of where we're riding, there's like these $1 million mansion-y type homes, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I'll probably just check those out or something. Never did, but there was one point on the ride when I just looked over. I was like, oh shit! I was like, those are those mansions he was talking about, and I was like, those are nice. But you're so just. Like, I was just so locked into my power meter, like looking at that and then looking at the road and just making sure I don't fall. Making sure, one of the things I'm scared about is getting a flat tire. So I'm always like hyper fixating on the road because I'm like, if I get a flat tire because I rode over something very avoidable, oh, that'd be so disappointing. And I didn't bring a spare or anything like that. Because I'll be honest, like, I can't get these tires off these rims. I have to bring it to the bike shop. I don't know how they do it. I don't have like a tool to do it. And I don't want to use like a screwdriver because it's going to ruin the wheel because it's carbon. I'm like, if I get a flat, I'm just going to have to wait for a motorcycle. And I never saw one like motorcycle with spare tires or anything like that. During Panama City, I remember seeing it like a couple times. This one I never did. But in my head, like if I get a flat, that's the race. So luckily I didn't get any flat tires, but I hyperfix it on the road. Because if I run over something like a reflector in the road or just something stupid and get a flat tire, I would be so disappointed in myself. So I hyperfixate on the road, don't crash, don't hit a stupid bump. What am I pushing power-wise? What's my mile per hour? Where are the bikes? Like, and that's pretty much it. And there were a couple points on the bike where I felt dizzy, but I didn't know if that was because I'm in air and I'm looking up and my eyes are like kind of toward, you're rolling your eyes up, or it's just because I was getting that hot or something. But another thing, like everyone was talking about the heat during the race, I feel like David Goggins, when he's in the Moab or the Badwater or whatever race it was at the end, they're like, the heat, what'd you think about it? And he's like, I didn't even notice it. Genuinely, there was like 2 points on the marathon, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty hot. But I never thought about the heat once. Not once. Other than those 2 times during the marathon for like 5 seconds, I was like, I think it was only once. Like during the marathon, I was like, it was at the very start of it, I was like, yeah, it's pretty hot. Because I remember running past an aid station because they have ice that you can put in your suit and just whatever. I was like, yeah, at the next aid station, I'm going to put ice in my suit because that one I skipped it. And I was like, yeah, it feels pretty hot. But other than that, genuinely didn't think about the heat. Like, ever. Not on the bike. I remember thinking about the heat on the bike and thinking, it doesn't feel that hot. And I guess that's just because I'm used to the heat now, being in Tampa, which is a positive. But I don't use that as an excuse for why my race was bad. I was talking to Parker and he was saying that because of it being so hot, like, it's harder to digest carbs because your blood's moving elsewhere in your body, kind of to help cool you off. So maybe that was something, and maybe that was part of why my stomach was kind of feeling weird. I don't really know. So like maybe you could say that because of the heat. But in general, like, I didn't feel overly hot, which was cool. But other than the one time on the marathon, I don't remember thinking it twice. I think it really was just that one time. Just being like, yeah, it's pretty hot, I'm going to put ice in my tri-suit. And that was it. But, yeah. So yeah, I guess that's the race. I don't really know what else to say. Hopefully it made some sense. Hopefully I didn't totally talk in circles. But, yeah, Ironman Jacksonville race recap. I guess, too, if you've watched this far. So I guess I keep saying I guess. So it's Friday night. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm driving back up to Jacksonville to get a 2019 Trek Speed concept. I'm super excited about it. So basically I was supposed to look at it / buy it after Jacksonville, and the guy was in Jacksonville, the race. But after my race went south on Sunday, I was just like, I want to go home. I was like, I don't even care. And honestly, it's a lot of money, and I was like, fuck this, I don't care. Because then I was like, am I going to keep doing this? I kind of had to reevaluate things for a second. But no, I can't just give up. I can't give up on a low note like that. But yeah, so long story short, then I was like, yeah, I can come back up there and check it out. But then he was like, oh, someone else is coming down from South Carolina to come pick it up. But he was like, if something goes south, I'll let you know. I was like, all right. But in my head, I was like, that bike's off the list. So then I found a 2025 felt DI2 Advanced 105 whatever IAX. It was like purple. It was cool, and it's 2025, so it was like damn near brand new. And it was the same price as that Trek Speed concept, but it seemed like a good next step bike. Like it wasn't like a $10,000, $15,000 bike. It was the one that I'm buying. I don't really like to talk about price of what I'm paying. I know some people get off on that shit, but I don't. I don't really want to talk about that very much. At least not to like, I don't know, maybe I'm making a bigger deal. I don't know. Mind your business! But then that bike sold, and that bike was in West Palm, Florida. So then I was like, shit. So then I was like, there were some couple other bikes that I saw, but I was like, I feel like if I buy that, I'm settling. And a few grand on a bike is like, I don't want to settle on a bike, especially because I want it to be better than what I have now. And I was like, I don't really want to settle on a bike, especially when I don't have a big race coming up. So I was like, I guess I'll just kind of wait and keep my eyes peeled. But then the guy with the Trek just reached out to me yesterday and was like, hey, that guy flaked. You want it? And I was like, yeah, I'll come up. He's like, I can come up today or tomorrow, but then I'm going to come up tomorrow and go pick that bike up. So I'm really excited about it. And then other plans. So I'm thinking I'm going to do, my next full will be Panama City, Florida again. which will be nice because I have experience on the course now, so I'll kind of know like what to expect, specifically with the bike. I don't know. And then I'm gonna find either like 1 or 2 Olympic distance triathlons or maybe a 70.3 I can do. But we'll see, because I didn't honestly, like around Florida, I feel like no one, at least like when I was looking at marathons, there's no marathons over the summer because it's so damn hot. So I'm like, I know there's a couple like Fort DeSoto, they do the sprint distance. I think they do an Olympic distance too, I have to look into it. But I might do 1 or 2 of those just to kind of get some like more fun race practice. And those are so low stakes that I feel like it would just be fun to do. And then yeah, PCB. Or Ironman Wisconsin. I have to see when it is. Maybe it already happened. I don't think it already happened. But depending on when that is, maybe I would do that. Because I'm from Illinois and I have family there, and it'd be kind of cool to have like more family out there. Because it's a lot to have people come down to Florida and watch or something like that, obviously. It's not very... People got busy lives and shit's expensive. So, no harm, no foul. Maybe I would do that, but then it's very expensive. I don't have it like a traveling case. I don't want to drive. So I don't know. I don't know if I would do that because the races themselves are already so expensive. So unless someone wants to sponsor me, I'm not good enough yet. See, that's the thing. I'm not good enough to earn a sponsor, to be sponsored. So I'm not good enough yet. Hopefully I will be one day, but if I can put a race together. Anyways, I don't really have anything else to say. If you watched this far, thank you. Congratulations. This is the end. But yeah. Also, if you want this bike, talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. But yeah, whoever I sell the bike to, I want to actually use it. I'm gonna make sure they're actually gonna use it, because I don't want it to just sit. I want someone to be using it. So that's the plan with that. All right. Have a great day. Get better today, baby.